Members, it's now time and we have a quorum. First of all, confirmation of the minutes of the third meeting held on the 30th of October 2015. The minutes have been forwarded to members. We have not proposed any, we have not received any proposed amendments. Can you confirm the minutes, please? Thank you. Matters arising, I have nothing to report. Business arising from previous council meetings. Legal Service Division report on subsidiary legislation gazetted on the 30th of October and tabled in Council on the 4th of November. Legal advisor, please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's paper number LS5/15-16. There's one item of subsidiary legislation, Post Office Amendment Regulation 2015. The amendment mainly are to revise the postal fees from 9% to 200% upwards. For the 200% fee increase is to increase the private mailbox key from $10 to $20. And also there's a new license fee for free post service. This legal notice will come into force on the 1st of February next year. Members, do you wish to set up a subcommittee? No? Next. Further business for the council meeting of the 11th of November 2015. Wednesday, 11th November, the meeting will be from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. and it will adjourn. And then the next day, on Thursday, the meeting will start at 9 until all business is concluded. Thank you. Members with no legislative effect. At the meeting on the 11th of November, we will deal with Dr. Helen Wong's motion to extend the application of Sections 3 and 8 of the Prevention of Bribery Ordinance to the Chief Executive, and Ms. Anne Chan's motion on strengthening vocational education. And then there's a table which covers a paper, report number 3/15-16 of the House Committee on Considering Subsidiary Legislation and Other Instruments. The deadline for amendment is the 11th of November. So far, no members have indicated their wish to speak. Questions? Dr. Lam has replaced his question. This is for the Council meeting of the 18th of November. 22 questions, 6 oral and 16 written. Bills first and reading and moving of second reading. No notice has been received. Government motion. No notice has been received. Members' motions. Motion on report of the Subcommittee on Hawker Policy to be moved on Mr. Stephen Ho and Ms. Claudia Mo's motion on safeguarding Hong Kong from mainlandization. There are 8 items of subsidiary legislation. The deadline for amendment would expire on the 18th of 11th November. There are 9. The list has been forwarded, tabled for members. Members, if you wish to speak on these items, then please indicate by 5 p.m. on the 10th of November, Tuesday. Thank you. Next, reports of those committees and subcommittees. Report of the Committee on Live Television Link, Witness Outside Hong Kong Rules and Rules of the High Court Amendment Number 2, Rules 2015. Dr. Priscilla Leung.
Completed the scrutiny of the live television link, Witness Outside Hong Kong Rules and Rules of the High Court Amendment Number 2, Rules 2015. The 2 rules provide for the procedures in respect of the giving of evidence from witness outside Hong Kong by a live television link to a Hong Kong court and the taking of evidence by way of a live television link in Hong Kong for a foreign court or tribunal. The subcommittee is concerned how the Hong Kong courts could ensure that overseas witnesses can give evidence via live television link without coercion and the places where the 2 rules will be applicable. Furthermore, the administration has also undertaken to relay to the judiciary of subcommittees concerned whether the district court and the magistrate court have the necessary facilities for taking evidence by way of a live television link. The subcommittee does not object to the 2 rules and will not propose any amendments. Details of the subcommittee's deliberations are set out in the report issued to members.
第二個就訴訟人儲存金規。
Next is a report of the Committee on Rules of Suitors Funds, Ms. Ann Chan. The subcommittee has completed its scrutiny on the Suitors Funds rules in relation to the Hong Kong Court of Final Appeal, Lands Tribunal, High Court, District Court, Land Labour Tribunal and Small Claims Tribunal. For various reasons, parties in the lawsuit may need to pay or transfer funds into courts or deposit funds in courts to serve as security against possible default on legal cost or in satisfaction of claims or judgment debts. These funds are held as suitors' funds, which are dedicated funds for the purpose. But then for the Court of Final Appeal and the Lands Tribunal, suitors' funds are administered via administrative procedures. That's why the judiciary has drafted the new Hong Kong Court of Final Appeal Suitors Funds Rules and Labour Tribunal Suitors Funds Rules, so that there will be a clearer legal basis for the management of suitors funds for these two courts and tribunal. The judiciary has also proposed amendments to the relevant to the existing suitors funds rules for the other levels of court and tribunals. This is to improve upon the operation of keeping suitors funds. The subcommittee held a meeting with the administration on the consistency of the various suitors funds rules, the circumstances under which suitors funds have to be paid, and the operations of the funds and investment management and so on. The subcommittee has expressed concerns. The details of our deliberations are in the subcommittee's report. The subcommittee supports the 6 sets of suitors funds rules, including both the new rules and the amended rules. The subcommittee will not move any amendments to these rules. Position of bills committees and subcommittees. Well, if I may first remind members, the deadline for moving amendment to the 8 items of subsidiary legislation would be the 18th of November. And deadline for giving notice is the 11th of November, Wednesday. Position on bills committees and subcommittees as at the 5th of November. 11 bills committees are in action, 16 subcommittees under the House Committee, and 7 subcommittees on policy issues under panels are in action. There are 3 subcommittees on policy issues on the waiting list. Ms. Claudia Mo has made a request to the House Committee. That is, at the Council meeting of the 11th of November 2015, a German debate be held under Rule 16.4 of the Rules of Procedure on the relationship between the prohibition by the University of Hong Kong on the publication of materials concerning its council meetings and the public's right to know. If I may remind members, the High Court is still handling the case. So, in accordance with Rule 41.4, Rule 41.2, the members may reference shall not be made to a case pending in a court of law in such as a way as, in the opinion of the chairman, might prejudice that case. So members should not dwell on the case itself. Ms. Claudia Mo, 3 minutes. Well, of course, we must not underestimate the abilities of judges to handle the case in accordance with law, so we need not be too worried. But then this case is really alarming. Some have said they would like to listen to the 3rd or 4th soundtrack, or even a soundtrack with Leung Chiung as the main speaker. This time round, there's someone abusing or manipulating the procedures of the university. Leung Chi-hong decided alone that he represented the Hong Kong U. Other members of the council were not aware of the injunction order. They, of course, did not discuss it. And then Professor Matheson was not even involved. I think it's insult to him. And recently we've seen major cases that the commercial radio and relevant parties have shut up collectively. Well, some believes because the license of the commercial radio will be renewed next August, so they dare not offend CY Leung. And of course, we all know how the government handled Ricky Wong's application for TV license. But then the Hong Kong University is funded by public money, so we have the right to know, we have the right to monitor the university. We also enjoy press freedom. What is most worrying is that some are criticizing people for revealing or exposing information or leaking information. But I mean, the person who leaked the information, first of all, had nothing personal to gain. He didn't make up anything. He was speaking the truth. So that's in line with the criteria for exercising right to know. And what what the Hong Kong Journalists Association is saying is that maybe others will follow suit in the future. That's what worries us most. So I totally agree with the Hong Kong JA. That is, if in future people want to stop the flow of information, they may also apply for injunctions. And that's unsettling for the social development of Hong Kong. This council is an organization representing public views. We must not shy away from this incident. We can't just stay quiet for a whole week. At least we should have a debate, and then we could put that on record so we are answerable to history. Does any other member wish to speak? Mr. Ip Kwok Him. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the beginning, you mentioned that under Rules of Procedure Rule 41(2), when this council or panels discuss a certain issue, which is a case pending in a court of law, then we have to consider certain points. Now, certainly, this rule applies to this issue for discussion. That's why the DAB does not agree we should discuss the case now. Now, Ms. Claudia Mo has used her 3 minutes amply to put forward her views. There are a lot of there's a lot of half-truth or distorted arguments there, but I don't want to dwell into debate. Maybe when there's an appropriate time for us to have debate, I'm sure members would wish to express their views. But today, this request for debate in the next council meeting, well, the DAB does not support it. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. Brutally abusing the rules of trampling on the rule of law, cutting short debate or filibustering. Well, these issues the court say is not for them to decide, so they won't deal with it. But I think the duties of members are clearly spelled out, and we have the rules of procedure, of course. These rules of procedure were laid down by the colonial government. Originally, the electrical was appointed, and eventually it was elected. Of course, the colonial government wouldn't want such a council to speak up. There's a UK case, the Financial Times case. A ruling was made in the UK. If something is of public interest, what's wrong with the media discussing it? And if there could be a discussion in the media, then in accordance with the Constitution, we have the duty to discuss issues of great concern to Hong Kong people. And here we also talk about an issue involving the use of public money. It's just we should be able to discuss it. Of course, the current rules are outdated. First, do you think judges are stupid? Do you think they will listen to electrical members? They won't. They may not listen. They may not even follow the debate. And this is really funny. I don't know what the judge is trying to rule on here. Why can't I say that about a judge? I've said this directly in the face of a judge before. Are you silly? I said it right in the judge's face. I asked him whether he knew what national security meant. If not, how come the Commissioner of Police could cite the reasons of national safety, security and disallow procession or rally? The judge couldn't answer me.
Ms. Sito, I very much support Ms. Claudia Mo's request to seek an adjournment debate. Of course, the court is still dealing with the injunction. But we are not going to have a debate on the details of the case. We don't know who made the tape recording. We don't know from whom the commercial radio got the tape. But we will be talking about principles, and that is people in power cannot try to shield their ugly acts by invoking rules on confidentiality, and we should do whatever it takes to protect whistleblowers. So we are not going to talk about the details involved in the injunction case. So I don't think that just because there's a case of injunction in the court, we should be prevented from having a German debate. As Mr. Leung has said, the judges are wise people. Their judgment will not be hindered by a discussion in this council. On the other hand, this council has a responsibility to pay attention to matters of public concern, and we should monitor public organizations and how they behave and whether they safeguard the autonomy of universities. So I don't think that we are going to prejudice justice in any way. If you say we should not criticize a judge, well, some members did say that the policemen arrested the wrongdoers and the judges let them go away. What about that? Mr. Albert Ho. Well, the issue raised by Ms. Mo is an important matter. It has to do with the autonomy of universities, the freedom of press and freedom of speech. Let me declare my interests. My solicitor's firm and I myself are representing three parties in this particular injunction case. So let me declare my interest as such. This is a matter of utmost public importance. Of course, we would like to make sure that the judge and the court will be able to deal with the case fairly and justly, and then public interest will be safeguarded. But not, just because of that, this council should not refrain from having a debate. Otherwise, this will be made use by other people in the future to stop us from having a debate. I think we should respect the judge. We should not criticize the judge while the case is being considered or the ruling made so far. We should steer away from that. That should be the bottom line. But we should otherwise be allowed to speak freely, especially about the way the powers are exercised by the university. You cannot say that because of the confidentiality, everything should be covered up. Members of this council should be allowed to speak freely. Of course, whether your views are objective and fair, there will be public comments. Dr. N. Jiang, Chairman, in the community, many people are concerned whether the public's right to know is overriding over and above people's privacy and other matters. Many people are very concerned about whether this is the case. And then we have many public bodies and governments, consultative bodies with members drawn from the public. And then people are concerned whether what they say on these committees will be leaked and circulated, and then they would face a lot of pressure. And these people are doing or participating in the work of these committees for free. So it's good that we should clarify the matter quickly. But for some reasons, for the following reasons, I would like to say I oppose to Ms. Claudia Mo's request. For example, for Rule 41(2), reference should not be made to a case pending in a court of law in such a way as, in the opinion of the President or Chairman, might prejudice that case. The case is now deferred to the end of November. It's just 2 weeks away. There's no need to wait for a long time. If we discuss this at a council meeting, then members can speak for hours, but there will be no reply by officials before we have finished. So we will not be able to know what we are interested to know. If this is discussed, well, we can consider having a discussion in the House Committee or in a panel, because at least you get some immediate answers after members have spoken, and we will know more details. Dr. Kwok Ka-Kay, well, if you want to oppose the request, you should find better reasons. Hong Kong University is not a private organization, it's a public organization, and the university has trained up the generations of talent, including children of this council. And now Dr. C.H. Leung has stepped down as chairman of the council. Well, what he has done is really unprecedented and controversial. And for example, he did not consult other council members before making that decision. And we are concerned that this becomes a trend, and that people will resort to various means to deprive the public's right to know. That cannot be tolerated. Although we are not a democracy, but we have freedom of information and freedom of the press. And then this council is in a position to monitor the government and public organizations. Hong Kong University is a publicly funded organization. This is a scandal. If we give up our responsibility to having a discussion, we will be failing the many people, including the students and the parents. Of course, we need to know the limits. We should not criticize what is actually involved in the court case. But this matter is a worthy subject for discussion. And a German debate is not going to last forever. It's going to be just under 1.5 hours. I think this council should offer comments, and we should tell the public that the council is concerned about this, and we have a position. Mr. Chen Chi-chin, well, I think the reasoning is simple. If someone left some minutes or a tape recording of a meeting on a bus, and a journalist pick it up, that should prompt reporting. Well, for example, on one occasion, Mr. Leung got home to pick up something which is the question suggested by the Security Bureau for some council members. Fortunately, on that occasion, the Security Bureau, the DAB member, and C.Y. Leung did not apply for an injunction order. So in that particular case, there should be a discussion. Fortunately, on that occasion, the DAB member, the Security Bureau, and C.Y. Leung did not apply for injunction. What nonsense. Well, am I not telling the fact? Well, we can look at the recording, the video recording of the meeting. Well, even if someone did go to the court for an injunction, that remained as a scandal. I'm referring to the Mr. Leung Kwok Hong's case. The Hong Kong News case affects freedom of speech and freedom of the press, it's only right that we have a discussion. Well, you can criticize me by referring to the same case. That secret paper should not have been disclosed to other people, even though you are trying to cheat the public, or whether you are distorting facts. I support Ms. Claudia Mo's request to have a debate. Why should anyone be afraid of a debate? The more debates we have, the clearer the truth. Please wait until I have given the floor to you, members. Mr. Yu Si-wing. Well, the Council members of Hong Kong, you have all signed a confidentiality agreement, and now someone has breached the confidentiality agreement. This is a disgraceful act. I just don't understand why you can say it's about public interest and you go against your own promise. That's a basic principle of one's conduct. Ms. Mo says she's concerned about copycats, but that's my concern as well. Because if someone say that it's about public interest or public's right to know, he or she can just do whatever he or she likes. What would happen to Hong Kong? What can we do when we have business dealings with others, or when we have meetings? And then that's the point about speaking freely. Imagine that you are a member of a public body like that, and if you are concerned that what you say will be leaked, can you really speak freely? Would people still be willing to become members of such public bodies, or would you be willing to speak your mind? Please consider that this would damage the culture, the public spirit of Hong Kong, because under the you used to have the spirit of the Lion Rock, that we talk about integrity and the can-do spirit. You want me to shut up, Mr. Albert Chan? Do you allow me to speak? Let's stick to the objective facts. Please don't do such unnecessary things because of election. Mr. Albert Chan, I support Mr. Yu Si-wing's effort to speak more and to speak every day. If we talk about confidentiality, there's nothing more confidential than EXCO business. And also, when it comes to breaches, no one has committed leakage of information than C.Y. Leung. Mr. Yu Si-wing, well, you say that confidentiality is so important. Well, remember, Donald Zhang issued warnings to C.Y. Leung for leaking EXCO information. And then the royalists are so supportive of someone who has leaked information for so many times. So why haven't you criticized C.Y. Leung for lack of integrity, or serving as a poor example for young people, and even his daughter has been led astray? I'm very concerned. When I talk about C.Y. Leung, Dr. N. Zhang will be very concerned, and he's about to explode. I won't say that he's Miss Dr. N. Zhang. Well, the pair, N. Zhang and C.Y. Leung. Well, I was about to talk about something else, but no, I won't do it. This issue has to do with freedom of a university, and freedom of the press, freedom of speech. And if you still object to this, it shows that the Communist Party is against freedom of speech or freedom of expression. Ms. Starry Lee, said that we are afraid of criticism or debates or speeches. Well, we are talking about whether we should have a debate in this council. Well, there are lots of debates in the community, and members can speak freely or write articles, so you have all the opportunities to be engaged in discussions. Please don't try to smear the other councillors. People can see through that. The question is it the opportune time to have a discussion in this council? As requested by Ms. Claudia Mo, we have rules of procedure that we need to follow, as you have mentioned in the very beginning. There's a rule in our rules of procedure saying that to the DAB's interpretation, that is not the opportune time, So we have to respect the rules of procedure. We should be rule-abiding people, unlike some other members. That's why we have so many problems in the committee. I have to clarify that we are not against having discussions or we are afraid of debates, but there's a case pending in a court. So it's not appropriate for this council to have a debate as suggested by Ms. Claudia Mo.
Mr. James Tan. Mr. Chairman, I think you're rather liberal in chairing this meeting. I find most members have used the 2 minutes to debate the case rather than whether there should be an adjournment debate. The Liberal Party would look at the request disregarding the name Ms. Claudia Mo. We just considered a request put forward by a member. Now it says here, prohibition by the University of Hong Kong on the publication of materials on confidentiality and right to know. The Liberal Party is in support of confidentiality, but I think we should wait till we have a proper debate and then we will state our case. Here, under this item, is whether we'll agree to have an adjournment debate. And there's no need to vote. Members are free to speak their mind. While the Liberal Party supports the debate, but during the debate, we believe confidentiality is overrides the public's right to know in this case of the Hong Kong University. Mr. Lee Chuk-yan, well, James Tan is always so wise when it comes to politics. How can we, well, it doesn't matter what your political position is, how come a debate is not allowed? Because everyone is talking about it in society. So, Sterling, if you say that we shouldn't debate it, you shouldn't be a LegCo member. We're talking about debate in this council. We're not talking about debate on the street because you can always arrange forum seminars anytime. But the question here is whether the LegCo should debate this issue. Don't put it as if everyone has a chance to talk about it, because then we might as well do away with the LegCo because people can just debate it on the street. I think that's a ridiculous logic. Second point. UC Wing of JB and all others, they adopt double standards. They keep saying that we must respect confidentiality, otherwise no one else would want to serve in public offices. While CY Leung has leaked so many secrets, how come you didn't criticize him? If you talk about who started all this leakage of secrets, it's CY Leung, but somehow you don't care. So I think you're adopting double standards. Here we're talking about academic autonomy and institutional autonomy. There should not be any political interference. I think Hong Kong U is a sad case. When it comes to just the Pro-Vice Chancellor of Hong Kong U and who should become the Pro-Vice Chancellor, it started, all the way from the Communist Party's mouthpiece. So, and then N. Chan said it's privacy. How could it be privacy? If you say something in a meeting, it's not privacy. That's public participation. Dr. Helena Wong. Mr. Chairman, I support Ms. Claudia Mo's request. The Democratic Party has all along advocated democratization of administration of universities. Governance must also be democratized. By that, we mean everything should be put under the sun. Everything should be made public. We shouldn't hide anything unless there are very good reasons to keep things not published. It's the same with the Hong Kong U. In general circumstances, there should be confidentiality, but then the Council must also consider, that is, the Hong Kong U Council must also consider how stakeholders of the university are kept informed of what's being discussed. That the stakeholders include students and teachers. They shouldn't just list all documents as confidential and keep them from other people. And then C.Y. Leung, as the chief executive, he has many different powers. He could appoint people to the Hong Kong U Council and so on. If everything is done behind closed door, but then they deal with issues involving public interests, and what if council members want to carry out certain political mission? Say at meetings they say something that's a distortion of the truth or logic, or they actually wrongly allege people, then it harms the council a lot, whether this is a university council or not. So in those circumstances, the public has every right to know about the internal discussions. We want to know whether there are people who try to accomplish certain political missions, so they are therefore harming the university or the council. We need to know, and I think therefore we should have a proper debate on this issue. Does any other member wish to speak? Mr. Porter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On Ms. Claudia Mo's request, she wants to look at the injunction itself and how it's related to public's right to know. But regrettably, Mr. Ronnie Tong, who is no longer a member in this council, he pointed out that the injunction being considered by injunction case being considered by a court has nothing to do with press freedom or speech freedom or public's right to know, but rather is about whether anyone has breached a confidentiality undertaking. So this request here is not even addressing the real issue, because there is not a direct link between the two. And then, in accordance with Rule 16.4, question of public interest. I agree this is a case with public interest, but more importantly, we need to look at our House Rule 13A. You briefly mentioned that, Mr. Chairman. That is, this is the approach to adopted to apply for an adjournment debate, but there must be special circumstances. By special circumstances, that means it's something urgent. That is, we have to raise against time to debate something, otherwise the consequences could be dire. So that's one of the considerations. So in this case, is there any urgency in the matter? I think it's for members to judge. But more importantly, if it's about special circumstances, in this case, definitely there is no urgency, but on the contrary, the case is to be dealt with, is being dealt with by the court. So if we want to consider this case, if we consider what special circumstances mean under House Rule 13A, we should actually vote down this request, because in the rules of procedure, the word uses might. It might prejudice the case, and that's a reason enough for us to oppose this request. Mr. Leung Chi-Chung. Mr. Chairman, I agree with Mr. Porter. Some members of the public have already trying to apply for court ruling as to whether this case is a matter of public interest. If that's the case, why waste our time to discuss the matter? So it seems that we don't respect court rulings, or perhaps we may not be happy with the way the court is handling the case. That's why we want to take it up here. But it's not right for us to take it up here. And then another point is what exactly is public interest. You know, some LegCo members like Lang Kwok Hong, he's received over $1 million. What about Claudia Mo's case, how come they're not debated here? Now, we don't even know what the public interest is, and then we want to debate. That's ridiculous. First of all, I think we should consider how come LegCo members received over $1 million and we don't talk about it here. Does any other member wish to speak? If not, Claudia Mo, 2 minutes to sum up, please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may just remind Ms. Ann Chine, Dr. Ann Chine. Well, members, she asked, we won't know how many hours we'll spend discussing it, and we can't get the information we want. We'll get it right. This is a German debate. There's a time limit, 1.5 hours only, 90 minutes only. And there's no official present. It's just for us to debate it. So it's just a debate among members, that's all. There may not be public officers attending. Well, Sterry Lee said, well, but there's already debate in the committee, so there's no need to debate it here. But then it's like what Lee Chak-yan said, every day we should have a forum on the street. Why do you want to be a LegCo member? It's exactly because the Legislative Council has the duty to pay attention to issues of concern to the public. We represent the public here. The loyalist camp that doesn't understand at all what is journalism, what is public communications. You ask what public interest is? Well, your home, your domestic affairs are only of public, curiosity. By a public interest, that means abuse of powers vis-a-vis human rights. Do you get it? There are such terms. In the university, it's a 3-year, 4-year program. Well, the Legislative Council has the duty to take up things of grave concern to the public, because right now we do not know what restrictions may be imposed on the public's right to know. And what is most worrying is still that point, that is maybe others will follow suit. Maybe others would also apply for injunction orders. It doesn't matter if you are you're a member, you are not allowed to disseminate any information. Well, that's also a gag order. So for anyone relevant, as long as they say is relevant, then maybe they can do that. Can I ask members whether you agree to Ms. Claudia Mo's request to recommend a German debate? Oh, Ms. Claudia Mo has claimed the division, so the division bell will be rung for 5 minutes.
現在開始。
Voting begins.
Please verify your votes before voting is closed. If there is no question raised, voting is closed. I'll ask the clerk to display the result. 50 present, 23 for, 26 against, no abstention, and so the request is negatived. I have nothing under AOB. Meeting adjourned.